I now would like to introduce the introducer for today's program, if I may. Prior Mayor and City Council person Barbara Rogers, if you would come forth. I would like to announce to you that Barbara has recently agreed to be the instructor for Leadership Cupertino. That program is going to be resumed shortly. The next time you see her, she will probably be wearing sort of Oxford-type robes and a little hat and everything. Welcome. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. It's a great personal privilege and pleasure for me to be able to introduce your speaker today. Lauralee Sorensen, the mayor, has her bachelor's from Stanford University and her master's from the University of Santa Clara. She worked as a school nurse in the Cupertino Union School District and now coordinates all the drug, alcohol, and tobacco programs. I presume that means that it's the control of them, not the marketing. And she has been employed as a school nurse for 20 years. She is married. They have 2 grown sons. In her spare time, she enjoys reading, and in the summer, swimming and walking. Prior to being elected to the City Council 2 years ago, she served 5 years on the Planning Commission and was chair 1 year. I served with Lauralee 2 years, which was a distinct privilege. I know her to be very conscientious, with a deep sense of caring and sympathy for everybody in the city and beyond. And it's my pleasure now to ask you to help me welcome Lauralee Sorensen, Mayor of the City of Cupertino.
Good afternoon, President Allen, fellow chamber members, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Barbara, for the nice introduction. I still find it a little surprising to be called mayor after only 2 years on the City Council. It is indeed my pleasure to address you on the state of the city. The state of our city is good. Your elected officials and the city staff are working very hard to keep Cupertino healthy. At this time, I would like to take a moment to introduce my fellow council members who are here. Our newest member, Wally Dean, Marshall Goldman, Barb Koppel, and Mayor Pro Tem Nick Szabo. I would also like to introduce Don Brown, our city manager. He sees to it that our policies are implemented. Some of our staff is here today as well. Would they please stand so people can see who you are? Thank you. These people work incredibly hard to meet the goals that the council has set. If we look good, it is because of them. They are conscientious, capable, and caring. On January 3rd, the City Council and the City Manager met for a full day, and we did our annual goals setting, which I will describe more fully later in this talk. It was a long day for all of us, but we were gratified by the results. When we met on January 3rd, each council member gave 5 goals they wanted to achieve during this coming year. We then combined these goals under common headings. The first goal is in the area of finances and economics. This goal, of course, appears every year, as it should. The staff is now at work on next year's budget. In late February, the council will have its first study session to review the 5-year forecast of operating revenues, expenditures, and the capital improvements program. This review is one of our most important jobs as a council member. This year, as part of the budget process, we will review available and new revenue sources. We want the 5-year forecast to tie more closely to the 1-year operating budget. We also have asked for options. First, the amount of money needed to provide basic services in each budget category. Second, to evaluate normal growth and allow extra dollars for that growth. And finally, if we have the money to provide enhancements in various areas. We have asked the city manager to investigate with the chamber the feasibility of hiring an economic development officer. This person could investigate how best to improve and augment the business climate of Cupertino. We have asked for a report describing the pros, the cons, and the cost. The city is financially sound. We have an investment portfolio that totals $31.5 million. Our general fund is estimated to be $20.3 million. The latest projection of estimated revenues indicates 8 to 10% less than we forecast. This means that unless steps are taken, the operating budget will exceed revenues. We already are taking steps to reduce the operating budget. Some of these steps include restricting overtime and filling only necessary positions as they become vacated. The reason that the revenues are less is because our total sales tax collections are down, and you know this, and our construction tax is also down. In November, the council instituted an internal audit committee. This committee is composed of the mayor, a council member, the city manager, the finance director, a chamber representative with expertise in finance, and this representative is Tom Hall, and I saw him here earlier today, and the auditor. This will be another safeguard in the whole budget process. I think you should all be aware that the state will be seeking additional money this year. We think they will be looking at the cities for the additional dollars. Last year, all cities had their cigarette tax revenue reduced by 47%, and all fines and forfeitures, excluding parking, were reduced by 50%. Please understand that this is beyond our control. Because of the aforesaid, the city will once again be faced with a very tight budget. The next major goal that the council addressed was the completion of the general plan. To that end, we will meet February 10th with the Planning Commission for the first view of the general plan. This will also be an opportunity for the council to give direction to the Planning Commission. We want the general plan to address the report of the Goals Committee and to be meaningful and concise. One of the Goals Committee's objectives was to create a sense of identity for Cupertino. This we have heard over and over. To that end, we want to begin an interactive process to review the consensus statements of the Grand Boulevard Committee. As we begin this interactive process, we will seek the involvement of all of our citizens. We will also develop an affordable housing mitigation policy. All of this is a huge undertaking, along with the usual business of the council. We do have some buildings that are completed or near completion. One of these is the long-awaited new post office. The formal dedication will be on February 14th, Valentine's Day, at 1 p.m. I invite all of you to attend this opening. I know that there are more parking spaces available than at our present post office. I'm safe in saying that. Another building which we alluded to earlier that we hope to see completed by May or June is the new Seven Springs Fire Station on Stilling Road. Traffic is always a concern. I am sure every council member that is elected says that he or she will find a solution to this. Traffic is the one problem that we work at City Hall on continually. We are proceeding with the installation of a permissive left turn light on Stevens Creek at Portel. We are also considering the feasibility of hiring a traffic analyst to develop traffic flow improvements. If this is done, it will be a 2-year study that will take into account the opening of Highway 85. Traffic demand management is very important. The city is presently meeting with the traffic demand managers from the various companies on an informal basis. I believe this will be part of the answer to the traffic problem. No doubt you have read in the Mercury News of plans to have a Measure A extension placed on the ballot. Measure A is the sales tax measure that is paying for Highway 85 and other highways in our county. As a council, we will be actively monitoring this issue, weigh the proposal, and ultimately, as a council, advocate for what we believe to be is best for the community. Traffic is a problem that does not go away but does require constant attention. Another department that is quite busy is Parks and Recreation. Since I have been on the council, we have acquired the Sports Center, Blackberry Farm, and Fremont Older School site. We are entering negotiations for an agreement as to the operation of the sports center for the next 2 to 5 years. There is a committee looking at the long-term use of this facility. Their report will reach the council in March or April. I visited the center recently and found that almost all of the tennis courts and racquetball courts were busy, with over half of the people being from Cupertino. I encourage you to go by and see how busy it is. Blackberry Farm code improvements will be undertaken this spring. The golf course is making money for us, and I understand it is always busy. The partnership agreement with Cupertino Union School District in regard to the sports field was completed last year. A master plan currently is being developed, and the designs will come to the council mid-calendar year. The Wilson and Jollyman Park projects will be completed soon. There will be dedication ceremonies in late spring for these facilities. While all of this is going on, the Parks and Recreation Department continues to run its terrific and varied programs and all of their special activities. Regional government is receiving a lot of press, and for good reason. Senator Becky Morgan has a bill before the legislature that may be heard as early as February. SB 797 proposes the formation of an interim regional growth management agency. This agency would be formed by consolidating 3 existing regional agencies: the Association of Bay Area Governments, Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and the Bay Area Quality Management District. Cupertino supports this merged agency on the condition that it would not have any additional powers. Its major responsibility would be to develop a regional plan and to recommend financial incentives and mandates to carry out the plan. It would study and make recommendations for consolidation of other regional bodies. The council is following this very closely and will be in close contact with Senator Morgan as well as other county agencies. Our primary concern is the financial impact and to be sure that our interests are represented. The actual makeup of the policymaking body needs to be representative of the population and the geographic area under consideration. Now, credit needs to be given to the Sheriff's Department and the Central Fire District for a professional and quality service they provide the community, and I was happy that they received a plaque earlier today. Thus far, I have reviewed the various city departments and some of the larger issues that will be facing us in coming months. Now, I would like to mention 2 aspects of Cupertino that help make it a unique place in which to live. One of these is our education community. The elementary and the high school districts are state and nationally recognized for the quality education that they provide to our children. De Anza College also has received national recognition. Last year, we formed a liaison committee composed of 1 elected official from each of our public schools. This committee meets monthly and discusses common topics of concern. All members of the elected boards and council meet yearly to foster better communication. Cogswell Polytechnical College is a unique school designed to train individuals in the technical fields, which are so important to this valley, is located here as well. The second aspect is our cultural diversity. In order to foster better communication with all ethnic groups, I will reactivate the committee composed of representatives of the various cultures who live in our community. The goal of this committee will be to find ways to promote community participation in various activities that occur in the city. We are indeed fortunate to have 2 active sister cities, Toyokawa, Japan, and Pereslav-Zaleski, Russia. The sister city programs enable us to gain greater understanding of others in the world. This world is rapidly shrinking because of technology, much of it developed here in the Santa Clara Valley. We are fortunate to have many of the technology leaders located here in Cupertino: Apple, Hewlett-Packard, Measurex, Olivetti, Siemens, Tandem, and others. Apple, Measurex, and Tandem have their corporate headquarters here. We benefit from their employees who volunteer in the various programs of Cupertino. We also benefit because of the company's commitment to Cupertino. We are in the process of creating a cohesive and expanded volunteer program that will utilize people in different roles. The expanded program could further the following goals: community outreach, community input, additional human resources, assistance in fundraising, job training, ability to handle short-term crises, and to have a better understanding by more people of the city government. Presently, we utilize volunteers in Parks and Recreation, the Senior Center, and the library. We have trained 115 disaster service workers, and this training continues. We have one intern per semester that works for Channel 53. The Maintenance Division of Public Works uses 1,200 hours per year of services from the Work Furlough Program of the Santa Clara Department of Corrections. You will hear more of the volunteer programs in the future. In fact, I think the council this is on the council agenda for Tuesday evening. The city presently has 8 commissions. These are composed of citizens who volunteer and are appointed by the council. We also have ad hoc committees as needed. We thank those of you who volunteer and appreciate the many hours that you willingly give to this community. Now, I would like to highlight some individuals and groups who are volunteers and who help make this city whole. First, our Fine Arts Commission. These commissioners have seen a need and have plans to develop a Friends of the Art nonprofit foundation. The goal of this group will be to raise money for art or art projects. Their first goal is to obtain a grand piano for this room where we are today. I attended their first meeting, and the energy and excitement generated was phenomenal. I wish them much success. Next, the Cupertino Historical Society, which is located here in Quinlan Center, down the hall. This is a group of dedicated individuals working together to keep a small museum viable and to present exhibits that are of interest to the community. They also have a group of docents who take an exhibit called The Traveling Trunk to elementary schools to show our students what life was like when people first came to this area. They will be presenting A Flavor of Florence, which is a dinner dance on February 14th. I hope to see all of you there. Next, Cupertino Community Services, which is a nonprofit agency located down the hall in this building. This agency provides assistance to individuals in the community who are temporarily in need of help. I checked with Jan Stevenson, their new executive director, as to their most recent statistics. Listen closely, because these figures will shock you. 409 people were in the Adopt a Family Christmas program this year. Cupertino Community Services saw 962 people during the month of December. During the past 6 months, July to December, individuals seen have increased by 136%, and for the homeless, an increase of 159%. I would urge all of you in this room to remember our less fortunate neighbors throughout the year by bringing food to Cupertino Community Services for their pantry in the spring, summer, and fall. These are their lean times. Next, the Cupertino Drug Abuse Council. This is another group of individuals who are committed to raising the awareness in Cupertino as to the drug, alcohol, and tobacco concerns. Cupertino's problems are reflective of national statistics. We must be proactive when dealing with drug, alcohol, and tobacco problems. Kathy Nellis, a chamber member, is chairperson of this committee and already is planning activities to include the full community, including business, especially during the Red Ribbon Week campaign in October. An ad hoc committee that has had no publicity is the Disaster Preparedness Psychological Committee. This committee is composed of mental health professionals and physicians who are developing guidelines and training for all of our disaster volunteers, city employees, and community organizations that wish to have this valuable training. The training will include how to identify individuals who are showing signs of stress due to a crisis. The training will discuss how stress affects different ages as well as cultures. Another important facet of the training is how to protect the volunteer from becoming a victim themselves. Finally, a program that is formed by a unique partnership of the city, Fremont Union High School District, Cupertino Union School District, the sheriff, and probation departments. That is our Youth Outreach Officer program. While this is not a volunteer group, our Youth Probation Officer, Terry Mullen, does have the youths he sees do volunteer activities in our community as part of their public service. This is both a prevention and diversion program for youth. One reason I mention the program is it has recently received state and national recognition. The award was from the National Organization of School Assistance Programs in partnership with the National School Boards Association and California School Boards Association. I've used the word commitment several times today. I see our community committed to being better, to caring about the less fortunate, and most of all, being involved. I salute you who are the activists of our city. Thank you for asking me to speak today about our city.